So let's have a little chat, shall we? Good. Um, we got to talk about the Real Housewives of Atlanta. Yeah, we have to talk about that. You know, I said I wasn't going to. I didn't want to talk about reality shows anymore. But you know, I think I'm going to get back into decoding them and just adding my own element to it when it comes to the occult and spirituality. I'm going to start doing that because there's a need for it. And with anything, as a disclaimer, this is a spiritual and occult channel. Not a cult, but occult channel. So therefore, if you are offended easily, if you're deeply religious, this ain't for you. But if you're an open-minded person and you're not politically correct, and I'm speaking to black people, then we can, then you take from it what you must. But this is a spiritual channel. And spirituality is not what people think. It's not about having dreadlocks. It's not about being a vegan. It's not about being good. It's not about being bad. It's about knowledge and wisdom. Okay? And when you have knowledge and wisdom, you are divinely balanced. Because sometimes you have to be good, and sometimes you got to be motherfucking bad. Okay? So I just wanted to get that out of the way first, so people can understand what my channel is all about. It's no issues or anything like that, but I want people to understand that my platform is not politically correct. I talk about everybody. I'll talk about my mama if I want to. Okay? But I can do that. Nobody gets no motherfucking passes with me. Nobody. Okay? I want to be clear about that. I talk about everybody. And if you can't deal with that, then maybe you need to go back to the weak-minded and the frauds and the liars. Go back to them. Because I'm not over here for that. So, the Real Housewives of Atlanta, well, first of all, this season has been very, very dry. And I'm a little bit disappointed because they're not really bringing it. All of this manufactured fake beefs and fake altercations, it's really, really boring. It's boring. Let me just say it's boring. And, I hate to admit this, but I'm missing Portia. And I don't even like her like that. But I'm missing Portia. Because, at least with Portia, there was some entertainment. When I look at the Real Housewives of Atlanta, I want to be entertained. It's my guilty pleasure. Number one, the cast, they don't have the right cast. See, if they let me be a casting director and a spiritual advisor on that set, I could have them popping. I really could. Because what they need to do is, they need to get rid of Sanya. I don't know what it is, or Sonya. I don't know what it is with these people with the name Sanya and Tanya. Just like they had that Tanya girl on there. They need to get rid of Sonya. She should not be a peach holder. She should be a friend of the show. Okay? They need to get rid of Drew Sidora. She's boring. I am not interested in anything that has to do with the deterioration of her marriage. She is boring. Her husband is boring. Her life is boring. There's nothing interesting or scandalous about her. Okay? That's number two. They need to make those two changes. And what they need to do is, they need to bring people in that are really going to have an issue with one another. A real issue. So we can see the breakdown, the breakthrough, then the breakdown again, and then the breakthrough. You know how they do. 1 minute they're friends, 1 minute they're not, 1 minute they're cold, 1 minute they're hot. That's what we want to see. We don't want to keep seeing all this fake bullshit. The only good thing they did in this season was bring Sheree back and give Marlo her peach. Candy is boring. Candy is boring too. Unless there's something going on between her and Todd and Mama Joyce or whatever the case may be. But she's boring. I like her on the show. I don't want them to get rid of Candy because right now she's not. I'm sorry. The real OG of that show is Sheree. So let's stop calling Candy the OG. She's not. Candy's not the OG. The real OG on that show, who should be making the most money, is really Sheree. And that's what I really want to talk about. Oh, and I'm glad Marlo is on the show too. Yeah, that was a good fit. But I want to see Marlo in love. I want to see her get married. And I want her to find a man that's going to cherish her, that's going to, kind of, her nephews have done that, but it's another way, it's another kind of softness that a heterosexual man can bring to a heterosexual woman, where she doesn't feel like she has to be the man and the woman. I want to see that for Marlo, okay? I want to see that for Marlo. I also want Kenya to find love. Kenya has been going through so much these past couple of years. She was married to a fuckface Leo fuck bitch named Mark. I don't like him. And I know how them motherfucking Leo men can be, because my boyfriend, he's a fucking Leo, and he can be a motherfucking asshole at times too, until I put my foot up his motherfucking ass, not physically, verbally, because he's no match for me, because I'm on the cusp with him. So he's no match for my motherfucking energy, because I'm a Virgo and I can talk circles around those air and fire motherfucking Leos. But that's another motherfucking story. I want to see Kenya find true love. And I think what Kenya is going to have to do, she don't need no more Leos. Kenya would be better probably with a Gemini, or maybe a Virgo. And I'm talking about a September Virgo. Maybe even a September Virgo would be good for her. Not an August Virgo. I don't think that would work. But a Gemini would be good for her. Or maybe even a Libra. Or even a Sagittarius. But Leo and her, that's not going to work. And, I'm going to be honest with you. Maybe Kenya should find her a white man. Or a man of another race. I think for her energy, that would be better. For her energy. Because Kenya has been dealing with these motherfucking niggas. And when you are a pretty attractive woman like that, what I've noticed about black men in particular, and I don't give a fuck who gets offended, the truth is the truth. What I've noticed about black men, in particular, heterosexual black men, when they tend to get with pretty women like that, they try to tear them down, because those niggas know that if another nigga look at her that's better looking than him, which most are, but that's another story, that's better looking than him, he knows that he's in trouble. So what they have to do is they have to tear you down to make you think that nobody else will want you. So even if another energy is trying to come into your life, it won't be able to, because those niggas, what they do is, and Leos are good for this, Leo men, they will tear you down or try to tear you down to the point that you would think that nobody else would be able to fulfill you the way that this toxic person would. And a lot of black men do that. I see that with Drew Zadora's husband, with his gay ass, and ain't no a legend in that. He got a twinkle in his motherfucking eye. Twinkle, twinkle, little star. Ain't no a legend in that. Okay? You saw it with Mark. You saw it with him and how he treated Kenya. And I even see it sometimes in how Todd speaks to Candy. I'm not saying Todd is gay, but sometimes you see it in how he speaks to Candy. And Todd is a Leo too. Okay? So that's basically all, for that part. I want to see Kenya find love. I want to see Marlo find love, and, they deserve it. They deserve it. Now let me get to what I really wanted to talk about on The Real Housewives of Atlanta. Wait a minute. Before I get into that, let me touch on this a little bit. Drew needs to watch Sonya. Why is everybody, and I mean, I'm not a Drew Sidora fan, but it seems like everybody wants to jump on Drew. Why is that? Why does everybody want to jump on Drew? Oh, I know why everybody wants to jump on Drew, because Drew has a very young, a very upbeat, positive energy with her. Maybe she's a little messy, but she has an energy with her, to me, that's very upbeat and positive, and she just wants to be loved. She just wants to have a positive energy. To me, Drew is tapping more into her Scorpio side than she is her Taurus side, because I believe she's a Taurus and Sonya is a Pisces, and if I'm not mistaken, she's a February Pisces, and you gotta watch them motherfuckers, because they will start issues with you out of nowhere. You and the person can be having a wonderful conversation, then out of the blue, and I'm sorry, Pisces, if this offends you, but you are my darker half. Virgo and Pisces are the darker halves of each other. So therefore, I know what I'm talking about. You could be cool with them, then out of the blue, they'll say some shit out their mouths, and you'd be like, where the fuck is this coming from? That's the same thing that happened last night when Drew and Sonya were discussing Drew's behavior. And Drew was like, Sonya, you called me when you got into a car accident, but now you're telling me that I have all these issues or all of these catalysts that you don't really like about me? And she was like, why couldn't you just said something to me prior to this? And like Pisces normally do, they deflected. She deflected, and then what she did was, with Sonya, whatever her fucking name is, what she did was, she tried to make it seem like something was wrong with Drew. There are things I just don't like about you. Even Candy said in her confessional, like, Sonya, you're doing too motherfucking much. What is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? Drew, you need to watch her. You need to watch her. You need to watch her. And don't let her talk to you like that. Don't let her talk to you like that. But anyway, the real issue for me last night, all of that aside, was the situation between Sheree and Tyrone. And ladies, I really want to have a real conversation about this. I'm speaking to my ladies right now. I want to have a real, black ladies, I want to have a real conversation about what we saw take place with Sheree waiting for this bum named Tyrone. Oh, and I guess I better say, allegedly, Drew's husband is gay. Let me go ahead and say that, allegedly. Because you know how you can't say certain things now. And my team just told me, y'all know I ain't got no team. Y'all know I'm a little crazy in the head. I got a team in my mind, and they're telling me, Seer, don't say that. You have to be an upstanding member of the spiritual YouTube community. So, I can't say that. Allegedly, Drew's husband is gay. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, okay? But anyway. So, we need to have a conversation about that. Because a lot of people look at that as entertainment. I was very disturbed I was very, very disturbed and touched in my spirit when I saw what happened to Sheree. I'm getting goosebumps even thinking about it because it disturbed me. And I hate to say this. Well, no, actually I don't, because it's the fucking truth. What you saw right there is a symbol of what black women are always talking about in connection with, or in connection with, that's good enough. That is what black women are talking about. That is a symbol of everything they talk about when they say that black men let them down, black men don't protect them. This is what they're talking about right here. This is a symbol of that. She spoke with him earlier that day. She spoke with Tyrone earlier that day. And let me say this. I don't give a fuck who gets offended by me saying that. That is a symbol. That is a symbol of how black women are treated by black men. And I'm not going to use the term not all and all that. Fuck all that. Fuck all that shit. Because when you use that term, it opens up a crack for people to say, oh, well, it's not all, so it must not be true. No. This is what we see. This is what they show. This is a symbol. And this is a prime example of what black women are talking about. Okay? She called him, or she spoke with Tyrone earlier that day. And he was supposed to meet her in Philadelphia. Now, the ladies had went on a trip to New York to go to Candy's play, something about a colored man's story or something like that. And I heard that it got great reviews. Sorry, I don't know the name of it, but you know what I'm talking about. I heard it got great reviews. Kudos to Candy. And Sheree was going to meet Tyrone in Philadelphia because he could not travel to New York because he's on house arrest or whatever. And he could not go without a 100-mile radius or something like that. I don't know. I didn't know Philadelphia and New York were that far apart. I thought they were kind of close, but that's just me. She goes to Philadelphia to meet him. She's sitting outside at a restaurant. She's ordering. She's sitting there waiting. She's calling him profusely. And the last time that she calls him, the phone rings, then it goes busy. A busy signal. It rings, then it turns into a busy signal. Her daughter calls her, Tiara. And she says, what does it mean when you call someone and it rings and then it goes to a busy signal? She said, that means you've been blocked. I said, oh. I felt her pain. I felt her pain. That was humiliation. That was pain. That was degradation. And then a producer comes out. That added insult to injury. A producer comes out. And you know what makes it so bad? And I know people are going to say, well, how can you connect the dots? Because I can do that. What makes it so bad is that the female waitress, she was a white woman. And Sheree kept telling her she was waiting for someone. And you know that, and I'm not saying the waitress did anything wrong, but you know in her mind, she was probably thinking, you know what, this woman is being stood up by a man, a black man. And then he did this. He humiliated her when Sheree is a public figure. And I know people may have their issues with Sheree, but I don't think people understand or overstand the significance of what we saw on the television last night. Because that paints a picture of what black women go through all the time. It's bigger than Sheree. But I just feel like they bring Sheree onto the platform to degrade her, to watch her be humiliated. And that was not funny. That was not funny. Excuse me. That was not funny. That was not entertaining. That was horrible what that motherfucker did. And Sheree, I'm going to tell you like this, sis. You didn't deserve that. I don't care how you feel about Sheree. I don't care how people feel about Sheree. She did not deserve that. But you know I have to be, I have to give a balanced view. And I'm going to say this to black women. Don't fuck around with these niggas in the fucking jail system. Don't fuck around with these niggas in the jail system. I don't care if they're out or not. Now, if it's your husband and he went to jail when you were married, that's something different. But do not get caught up with these niggas in the penal system, because their whole game and mindset is not about helping you. It's not about pleasing you. It's not about cherishing you. It's about getting them the most. It's about getting the most out of you. Let me say it this way, that they possibly can. Now, Sheree is a Capricorn. Sheree is a Capricorn. And most Capricorns don't put up with no motherfucking bullshit like that. So when I look at that, I said, okay, they're using her in yet another humiliation ritual, which is similar to what they did to her a few years ago when she came back to the show and she was dealing with that funny looking ass Bob Whitfield, her ex-husband, and the baby. I think she's, what is he, the baby daddy of the children? Yeah, the baby daddy of the children. Yeah, him with his funny looking motherfucking ass. And how he treated her in court. He showed so much disrespect and so much disregard towards her and their children. And I remember when they brought her back a couple of seasons ago, she was talking about how Bob was abusive towards her. Allegedly, let me say that. And the way that they presented it, they did not present it in a dignified way, to tell a story in a dignified way. They presented it to make her look like a victim, to make her look like a weak person, and to make her look like a person that could not think for herself on a critical level. That is how they made her look when they revealed and exposed that storyline, or when they put out that storyline into the universe, that Bob was physically abusing her. It just, they didn't put it in the way, they didn't tell the story in a way to make her look to make her look triumphant in that situation. They didn't make it into a triumph. They made it into a tragedy. And that is the song that a lot of these shows always sing for black women. And that is my problem. That's why I said, ladies, we have to have a conversation. We have to have a conversation about this, because that was humiliating and that was degrading. She didn't have anybody around her. Sheree she lives in Atlanta. She didn't have any friends up in Philadelphia. She was sitting in the cold. You see the spell work in that? Sitting in the cold, watching people walk by as she waited for him, Tyrone. He never called her. He never showed up. So then a producer comes out and says there was an issue with getting permission for him to come here or something like that. And she was like, well, why didn't Tyrone call me? No, Tyrone is a coward. He's a fucking coward. And see, when people do shit like that, I'm going to be honest with you. When people do shit like that, when niggas do shit like that, black women deserve to do work on them spiritually. They deserve to get work done on them spiritually, and they deserve to get their lives fucked up even more. Because see, if he had done that to me, I would have fucked that. I wouldn't have fucked him up physically. That's too good. I would have fucked his life up spiritually, because you don't do that. That was humiliating. She sat out there for 2 fucking hours. He could have just picked up the phone and said, look, bitch, I don't want you no more. Click up. Okay. And Candy said he could have been at his other woman's house. Candy, don't be too quick to say it was another woman, okay? Wink, allegedly. Don't be too quick to say that it was another woman. Because I don't care what anybody says. People always say, well, it ain't all of them. No, it's not all of them. But a large percentage of men, you better believe they getting their dick sucked in jail by another motherfucking man. Maybe not all of them, like y'all say. But black women especially have to be careful when you are dealing with that type of jail energy, because a lot of those black men that come out of jail, they are damaged. It doesn't matter how much rehabilitation they claim that they get while they're inside. Their spirit is damaged. Their mind is damaged. They are institutionalized. And you don't know everything they may have had to go through while they were in prison. So when they get out, they will give you their representative for a little while, and then the real them will come out. So I was absolutely mortified when I saw what happened to Sheree. I was absolutely mortified. And you know what? You know what? The one that stood by her, the one that she called when this happened, was Kenya. And I am so glad that Sheree and Kenya have a friendship. That is a strong bond between an Aquarius and a Capricorn. I am so glad she called Kenya, and Kenya told her the right thing to do. Don't call him anymore, and she should not call him anymore. And if she gets with him at this point, because see, when niggas do shit like that, that shows you and tells you that nigga really don't care about you like that. I don't care what anybody says. He does not care about her. He does not care about Sheree. Those niggas in jail, they go through a process of how can I put it? They go through an emotional process where they have to basically turn off their emotions. They cannot have emotions while they're in prison. But the problem with black men is that even if they're not in prison, that's how a lot of black men act anyway. Gay, straight, bi, tribe, hetero, doesn't matter. A lot of you all have that institutionalized mentality anyway when you deal with individuals that are your boyfriends or girlfriends or wives. You all have that mindset. You have that institutionalized mindset, whether they've had their foot in a prison or not. And I'm going by observation of spirit. They don't know how to communicate. You try to talk to them, they get attitudes quickly. I mean, look at the whole thing that's going on with D.L. Hughley and Monique. He has an institutionalized spirit. So whether they've been to jail or not, that institutionalized spirit permeates their essence. And this is how a lot of black men act. Just like Drew's husband. When she tried to tell him how he made her feel as a woman. And men are always, these black men are always talking about black women ain't feminine enough. You're too manly. You're too masculine. Okay, well, Drew was trying to explain to him a couple of weeks ago, you make me feel X, Y, and Z as a woman. She was trying to have a conversation with her husband as a woman, as a feminine woman. She was telling her husband, you make me feel this way. And he turned around and started displaying characteristics of an effeminate man by not acknowledging her feelings. Because effeminate bitch niggas, They don't acknowledge other people's feelings. Effeminate bitch niggas do not acknowledge their wives or their woman's feelings. Tyrone is an effeminate bitch nigga. I don't care what happened. He could have went to the payphone and called Sheree and said, look, baby, look. I am so sorry that I have you waiting there. Something went down. But when you are an effeminate bitch negro, this is the behavioral patterns. So this is why I tell black women, you got to be careful dealing with these black men that have that institutionalized mentality. Candy's husband, he has an institutionalized mentality. There are niggas in the conscious community who shall remain nameless, who have an institutionalized mentality. They cannot relate to you, and they cannot feel compassion for you because they don't have any. How can you be a spiritualist if you don't have compassion for people? Doesn't work that way. That's why I don't really go to male spiritualists, black ones anyway, because or occultists anymore, because they lack integrity, they lack spirituality, they lack essence. A lot of them do. And the Real Housewives of Atlanta, I know people are wondering, well, what does this have to do with the Real Housewives of Atlanta? Everything. It has everything to do with it. You know, a few years back, when they had that episode of the Real Housewives of Atlanta, where they had the pillow talk thing, Nene was still on the show then. And Nene gave some type of pillow talk. What was it? Pillow talk shit or whatever. Christopher Williams was on the show. He made an appearance on the show. Him and his ugly ass girlfriend or wife, whoever she was. I don't like that bitch. And I don't like her. I'm going to tell you why I don't like that bitch. And why I'm calling her a bitch. I don't like her. And this ties into what I'm talking about when it comes to effeminate men. The only person in that room that was a real man, and I normally don't say this, but the only person in that room that was a real man was that gay guy that defended Kenya. All of them jumped on him. All of those effeminate men, Peter, Apollo, Christopher Williams, they all jumped on him. And suffices to say, none of them are part of the show anymore. Not even the gay guy. I think his name, was it Brandon? I think his name was Brandon. I don't know if him and Kenya are friends anymore or not. But Brandon. I'm not saying that Brandon was perfect or anything like that. But all three of them jumped on him because Brandon stood up to defend Kenya. Because what happened was Kenya and Christopher Williams' girlfriend, they had a verbal exchange. They had a verbal exchange, and instead of, I think her name was Natalie, instead of Natalie keeping it between her and Kenya, she got Christopher Williams involved in it. I was going to say Christopher Berry because both of them are so damn fine and they look alike, but my Christopher ain't nothing like that one. That one is a Leo, and you know how them motherfucking Leos are. I don't like them. I don't like them. I don't like Leo men. I don't have an issue with the women. I don't like the men. I don't like Leo men. So, Natalie and Kenya were getting into some back and forth. And then, Natalie, she went silent. And she signaled for Christopher Williams to no, that's not what happened. That's not what happened. Kenya got up, and then Christopher Williams grabbed her arm. He grabbed her arm. And Natalie did not call her man out for that. Because if you're getting into a conflict with another woman, why would you involve a man? I don't like women to do shit like that. I don't like women to do shit like that. I've seen that happen to people on YouTube. Two women are having a disagreement, and these bitch ass effeminate niggas, they want to come and get involved in it. Brandon didn't get involved in it until those men got involved in it. And then Apollo grabbed him by his throat. I don't like that bitch nigga. And that's why Apollo's life has not been the motherfucking same. That is why his life has never been the same. Not because of that, but just because of other things too. Alright? But when you look at all of those situations and you interconnect them, you see what I'm talking about. You see what I'm talking about, because even in that instance, the black woman was not being protected, and it was another black woman that was facilitating another black woman being attacked by institutionalized black men. Because all of those men were really gunning for Kenya. They were gunning for Kenya. So that is why I say black women have to be careful with these institutionalized types of men. And you have to know the signs in the beginning. You have to know the signs, because see what happens is you'll get black men who say, well, I ain't never been to jail. I got a good career. I got a big house. I got all this money. I got this. I got that. I got this. I do that. I do this. I got that. But then you find out the type of men that these black men hang with are nothing but a bunch of criminals. You hanging with people that got less than you. You dealing with criminals. You dealing with niggas who sell drugs. You dealing with niggas who sitting up smoking weed all day. They ain't got no fucking job. And then you wonder why you can't get your shit together. That's because these men are institutionalized. They're institutionalized even if they've never been to jail. And some of it is self-institutionalization. Because they hang around these institutionalized Negroes like a Tyrone, like an Apollo, like a Christopher Williams, like a Todd, like a Drew Zadora's husband, I think his name is Ralph, like a Ralph. They hang around these institutionalized Negroes, and it rubs off on them. And then they come home to you with this motherfucking attitude and air. You're like, what the fuck is wrong with this nigga? What did I do? You didn't do nothing, honey. You didn't do nothing. Their minds are institutionalized. And that's why a lot of black men, that's why a lot of them, and I'm going to say this, a lot of them die alone. They die in pain. They die where people don't want to be bothered with them. And usually it's the Tyrones. Remember that song? You better call Tyrone. Call him and tell him come on. Help you get your shit. That song was about the DL. Nobody never caught that. That song that Erykah Badu sung about you better call Tyrone, that was a song about a man that she dealt with who was on the DL. That is what that song was all about. And that plays a part in all of this shit too. Because a lot of those institutionalized niggas, a lot of them are on the DL. They're not gay. Because gay people, we don't do, real gay people like myself, we don't do shit like that. We admit what we like. We don't hide and deceive people. We give people the option to either accept us or not. But Tyrones and institutionalized niggas that are mentally institutionalized, they don't give you that opportunity. My cousin, and I don't give a fuck who hears this and gets offended. My cousin that recently died, he was in the upper echelon of the law enforcement. He died alone. He died in pain. He died in depression. He died not speaking to his children. Well, at least his older children. And that's the legacy that he left. Because his mind was institutionalized as well. And he was a law enforcement person. Major law enforcement person. In the upper ranks of the law enforcement. That's why I say y'all don't know me like that. Y'all don't know my family background like that. But that was humiliating what happened to Sheree. That episode should have never been filmed. That was not reality TV. That was not reality TV. That was cruelty. Because there's a line that gets crossed. And I know what people are going to say, well, they are showing what's really happening in her life. That's not real reality TV. That was a setup. Because that nigga knew that he was going to do that. And the reason I know he knew he was going to do that was because if anything came up, he could have told her when they spoke earlier that day. And don't give me no excuses he didn't know. That motherfucker knew. He knew. He knew exactly what was going to happen. That was a setup. And what made it so much more insulting, they sent out that producer and he was giving up all the fucking tea. That was humiliating. It was degrading. And they only brought Sheree back to boost ratings. And then they're probably going to get rid of her again. Because I'm sure Sheree is not making what the other ladies are making, when Sheree should be making the most. Even more than Candy. It should be based on seniority. And Sheree is the OG. I don't care how many times she comes back or leaves. Sheree is really the OG. She's the real OG and she should be making the most. And I don't give a fuck who gets offended by what I'm saying or who disagrees. I'm talking about spirit. And her spirit was broken when Tyrone stood her up. When people stand you up and do shit like that, that is an attack on your consciousness. That's an attack on your spirit. That's an attack on your soul. When people do shit like that and then they don't even have the fortitude or the class or the dignity or the respect for you to say, listen, I can't make it. When people do shit like that to you, that is a total disrespect to your energy. And I hope Sheree does not get with him, but she probably will. She probably will end up with him. Anyway, that's all I really wanted to talk about. And holla.